All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are working on our review of 5.15.2. We are focusing on our graphing and our substitution skills. We're going to go ahead and graph number 1 as it says there. And the great news is we have it ready to graph. So actually, we don't have to show our work for this one on our line paper. We can show it all on the worksheet because it's just really quick identification. For line 1, again, I'm going to write it as M1 and a B1. I'm going to use 2 separate colors for your benefit. So line 1, my slope is a simple 1 over 1. What is your y-intercept? We're going to go ahead and put it in parentheses. And it's just the back number again, so you should have a 0, 4. Line 2, which is the second one, again, I'm going to use in the second color. What is my slope? Well, I notice that it is negative, so therefore it's going downhill. You've got a little 1 there, so it's just negative 1 over 1. What is my second y-intercept? Well, there's no number at the back, so therefore it is the origin, which means line 2 is technically proportional because it will be touching the origin. So now that we have everything that we need, because both lines were in slope-intercept form, we are going to go ahead and graph each line on the provided coordinate plane. Our goal is to go ahead and see where they cross. Again, that is called our point of intersection, and that's what's going to be the answer. You're going to have to do the exact same thing on tomorrow's quiz. So when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and graph it. So I'm going to give you just a few more seconds to copy anything down that you need here. Then go to the worksheet. Start by graphing line 1. Then we're going to graph line 2. All right, so for line 1, again, I'm going to go ahead and start at my y-intercept, which is 0, 4. So starting at the origin, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. According to my slope, it tells me up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. You could also practice your backwards counting. As many points as you want to do. Remember, minimum is hopefully 3. When you're ready, go ahead and take your straight edge. And let's make our line and do a quick label. So again, our goal is to try and find out where the 2 lines are going to cross. So for my first line again, y is equal to x plus 4. Second line, my y-intercept is the origin. Again, it's proportional. Starts at the origin, touches the origin. My slope tells me down 1, right 1, because it's negative 1 over 1. Down 1, right 1. We're on line 2. You can go backwards. There we go. Again, the backwards counting was able to show me exactly where the point of intersection is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean it up. Make my nice line. This is like a level 1 graph, if you will, because it is already in slope-intercept form. On your quiz, you'll have a special spot to actually put your answer, kind of like an answer column, if you will. But I'd like you to go ahead and put it on the graph right here and then rewrite it in the special location for the answer key. So the question is, where is the point of intersection? So if you start at your origin, you count left and up. So please write down your 2 numbers for your point of intersection. So did you write down a -2 and a +2? That would be great there. Again, trying to find out where the 2 lines will be intersecting or crossing will be your point of intersection. All right, we're going to go ahead and skip to number 7. Number 7 is going to require a bunch of work, so we're going to do it on our lined piece of paper. I'm going to go ahead and identify, okay, my line 1 is not my chart. I can't do easy division, so I am going to do my slope-intercept form. So for line 1, bring it down. We're going to go ahead and rewrite it again as y equals. So let's go ahead and subtract 4x from both sides. Which gives me a negative 1y. And then we're going to finish off with the division like we've been trying to practice. So everything's going to divide by negative 1. Which will give us the y equals that we desire, which will allow us to graph line 1. Then we can focus on graphing line 2. So for your x part, we've got a negative divided by a negative, which of course is a positive 4x. For the integer at the back, a positive 1 divided by a negative 1, which is a negative 1. Again, we don't want to make any sign errors. So we're on line 1 still. So I'm finding the slope of line 1 and the y-intercept of line 1. The slope, again, is simply the number in front of your x, so I'm going to go ahead and say it is 4 over 1. The y-intercept is at the back. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 1. Now, before I go to line 2, I'm going to actually ask you to pause and graph line 1. So on your worksheet, make sure you're on number 7. Go ahead and graph line 1. Now remember, when we label it, we're going to write down the original problem next to the arrows. So let's see here. Starting point is at 0, negative 1. Slope tells me up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right 1. Check to see if you have enough room. You might go a little bit off, so that's when we practice the backwards. Down 1, 2, 3, 4. Left 1. We make our quick graph. Notice how it's very steep. Somewhere near the arrows, let's go ahead and write down the original, which is 4x subtract y equals 1. All right, we okay on line 1 now? Let's move on to line 2. I'll switch colors. Now, if you notice, this one, really easy division. If you got some simple ones there, this will let me do the intercepts form. So x-intercept, y equals 0, and y-intercept, x equals 0. Because 4 can be divided by 1, so it should be a really quick, easy mental math. So if y is 0, what is x equal to? Therefore, my ordered pair is 4, 0. On the second one, if x is 0, what is y? So it's kind of like a repeat, but make sure you have it as 0, 4. So now that I have my intercepts, because again, it was really quick mental math division, because we practiced that in chapter 4, go ahead and plot your intercepts to make your line. So again, 4, 0, this is from the origin, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, no up or down. Here, from the origin, no left or right, up 1, 2, 3, 4. Label it. Remember, it is x plus y equals 4. Do you see the point of intersection? Right here. Put your answer next to the graph. And again, go ahead and put it on your answer location on your quiz tomorrow. It's like an answer column. So did you say right 1, up 3 for 1, 3? We good? All right. Want to practice that mental division really quick to see how well you are catching on. So we're looking at number 8. Number 8 is going to be a really quick graph there because each line we can do, oh, sorry, my mistake. Line 1, we can't do the mental division, but line 2, we can. It's almost a repeat of 7. But again, it's good practice for tomorrow's quiz. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite line 1 to get y equals, which again is called our slope-intercept form. Line 2, we're going to do our intercepts because the division will work. So let's subtract 4x both sides. 3y is equal to negative 4x subtract 6. And then divide. Can't reduce for the x part, so we just go ahead and write it as a negative 4/3 x. The back part, simple division, negative 2. So we're on line 1 with our information. So my slope is negative, so your first line better be going downhill. It's an improper fraction, so it's a little steep. And my y-intercept is a 0, negative 2. So just like the previous ones, when you're ready, go ahead and look at your worksheet and start graphing your first line. So start out at 0, negative 2. And then we go down 4. Right, 1, 2, 3. That takes you to the edge, right? So that means we're going to have to do backwards counting for our third point. So I'm going to go ahead and go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Left 1, 2, 3. Take your straight edge. Remember, the quality of your graphs also determines how well you are able to find your point of intersection. If your graph is kind of low quality, I know that may sound weird. And then we do a quick label near the arrows again. 4x plus 3y equals negative 6. All right, when we are ready, line 2 again is nice intercepts. It's just basic division, so it's organization skills here. So I'm going to say again, x-intercept, y is 0, and then y-intercept, x is 0. So mental math. Can you solve for x if you know y is 0? Some people I've even seen, they like take their pencil or their finger and they cover up the y part. So it's kind of like this is hidden. 2x equals negative 12. So what does x got to be? -6. To find your y, you're going to cover up your x. Maybe with your finger, your pencil. -3y equals -12. So ignore the x part. What is y equal to? If y is 4, then that obviously gives us our y-intercept of 0, 4. So with the intercepts again, we've got nice 2 points. It's relatively quick if the division is nice and neat. All right, so we'll finish graph 8. Then we'll start looking at our substitution method, which again is part 2 of your quiz. And then we'll try and look at some of the maybe review problems or something like that, depending upon our time. So let's see, -6 is 0. Starting from the origin, left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0, 4, starting at the center, up 1, 2, 3, 4. If you made an excellent graph, do you notice the point of intersection? So that's really reinforcing the idea of doing that backwards counting on your first line, because that gives us our point of intersection right there. Starting from the origin, again, you can count left and up. So from the origin, I go left 1, 2, 3, so that's -3. Up 1, 2, +2, point of intersection. Now remember, there are special answers, so when you graph it, if you end up getting parallel lines, you're going to end up having a no solution answer because they will not cross. If you recognize when you're trying to graph it, they're the exact same line, called an identity, then that's infinitely many solutions. And you'll see that on your graphing section there. All right, let's go ahead and jump to number 10. If you notice, I think there's enough room on the worksheet to actually do number 10. So this is just like what we've done on the last 2 days of homework, so let's go ahead and do it again. Step 1, identify the isolated variable. Do you see on equation 2, x is alone? Let's go ahead and circle what we're going to do for our substitution. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to go ahead and draw your arrow to the first equation at the x, because it says x equals. So do your nice letter substitution. We're going to skip a line and make our new equation. So instead of 2x, I'm going to write 2 parentheses. And as we discussed the past 2 days, we're going to put the circling inside the parentheses. And then the rest of the equation follows. So I've done my substitution method, and now I'm going to go ahead and distribute property. So 2 times 6, 2 times -4y. The -3y stays the same, equals 1. We're going to combine like terms, again, box or circle or triangle, whatever you like. So you could use your number line up there on the wall. You can use your rules or just your skills from previous years to recognize again that that is -11y. It's a +12 equals 1. So if you do it correct, it's not going to be a fractional answer. Let's subtract 12 both sides. So -11y is equal to -11. We're almost there. Don't forget your signs. Be very careful. Again, some of you made mistakes on the test. Negative divided by negative has to be a positive answer. So now that I have y is equal to 1, I'm going to use my circled part to help me find x equals. Going to bring it over here to the right. Hopefully you have enough room. So if x is equal to 6 subtract 4y and y is equal to 1, I'm going to have 6 subtract 4 times 1, which is really 6 subtract 4, 2. Remember, your answer is in alphabetical order, so we're going to go ahead and write it as 2, 1. We're going to go ahead and look at number 11 next. Same scenario. It looks a little bit different, though, and I don't want you to get confused. Remember, all you have to do is look for the isolated variable and do your circling. So if you can write small enough, you can fit it on the worksheet as well. If not, do it on your lined paper. Number 11. So on line 1, it says y equals x subtract 5. So I'm going to go ahead and circle the x subtract 5. And since it says y equals, I'm going to draw my arrow to the y, because that is what y is equal to. Now, if you notice on the right side of equation 2, there's no like plus 2 or subtract 3. So it might be less work. We'll see. So substitution, 3y, so 3 parentheses. Y is x subtract 5. Equal sign, and it's just negative 2x. So you're still going to do the same work where you're going to go ahead and use your distributive property, but you're going to notice on this one we can't combine like terms because the x's are not on the same side. So we practiced this recently. We also did it back in chapter 1. If you have variables on both sides, which variable are you supposed to move? And if you recognize again, we are going to move the smaller one, which is negative 2x, and we're going to do that by adding 2x. Now, for some reason, when students do this, they forget that it is equal to, well, what's negative 2x plus 2x? Oh yeah, 0. They forget to write the 0, and I don't understand why. They like magically move the equal sign. Don't move it, do your work. 3x plus 2x is 5x, subtract 15. We now have a nice two-step problem for you to be able to go ahead and solve for x, and then solve for y. Remember, for those of you who are working ahead, the answers are on the back of the worksheet, but periodically check in with us. So can we agree x is equal to 3? Beautiful. So let's go ahead and use the circled equation to find our y answer. So go to the right side. If x is 3, I'm going to write y is equal to 3 subtract 5. What is 3 subtract 5? Negative 2. Being really careful there. Our answer goes in the form again with x first, y second. So you have a few more substitution method problems, similar format, circle, arrow, substitute. Be careful with any negative signs, of course. Let's go ahead and turn to the back. 13 and 14 is essentially repeat problems as well. I would like us to confirm that we know how to do the check. So that is number 16. You should have enough room on your worksheet there to do number 16 with me. If not, do it on your lined paper. What we're going to do again is separate it into two individual problems for the individual check. So on the first one, it says 5x. So I'm really going to go ahead and write it as 5 times my x value. The x value is 8. Now remember, when you're doing your check, it has to work for both equations because it's a system. It means it has to work together. And then it says subtract 4y. So that's subtract 4 times y is 5. And we're hoping to get a result of 20. So substitution, a little bit of simplifying, evaluating. It's like 6th grade, 7th grade work here, but it's an 8th grade problem. So 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract 20. Does this work? 20 is equal to 20. You can put a little check mark there if you'd like to verify, yes, we did actually check it, and it does work. But in order to actually be the solution, it also has to work for line 2. So to the right, we're going to go ahead and check line 2. It says y equals. Well, y is 5. Then it says 2/3 x. X is 8 over 1. So 2/3 times 8 over 1 plus a 6. Can I cross cancel? No. So if I multiply, that'd be 16 over 3. Wait a minute. If I already have a positive 6 and I try adding more, is there any way that that's going to come out to an answer of 5? No. So right there, I could even just say, not going to work. So that means 8, 5 is not my solution. So we're just going to say no solution. Which means someone probably did a wrong graph, or they tried doing the substitution method and they got weirded out somewhere and they found the wrong answer. But again, that's the power of checking it. So you thought you were doing correct. If you check it, it'll tell you yes or no. So you would do that on 15 and 17. All right, if I have time available, I'm going to come back to 18 and 19, but I would like us to skip to 21. This is just that mental understanding here. So number 21, look at the graphs. So in other words, the graph is already done for you. You're trying to interpret or understand the graphs. So number 21, how would you describe these two lines? Well, what's the word first before we get to no solution? Parallel. So let's go ahead and write down that word. Parallel. Parallel lines, of course, is a no solution idea. So yeah, that is correct. So which one would you circle then? 1, 0, or infinitely many? Yeah, go ahead and circle your 0. Because it's no solution, 0 solutions, same idea. So for our system given to us, I have my first line, and I'm asking you about the second line. So thinking about our graphing skills, what type of line do I need in order to have a parallel line? So looking at the choices, I know that line 1 is going downhill, right? So shouldn't line 2 also be going downhill? So that means I can cross off answer A, because it says y equals 2x. So my choice is B or C. What do you notice about answer C? It's the same, right? But the exact same lines, that's called infinitely many solutions. So it's not C. So our answer is B. Parallel lines have the same slope because they're both going downhill at the same rate, but they have to have different starting points. Because if they had the same starting point, then it'd be the exact same line. All right, let's try our thinking on number 22. So if you have your lines crossing, isn't there an actual point of intersection? Now, I'm not asking you what is the point of intersection. I'm asking you what's the number of solutions? 1, 0, or infinitely many solutions? It'd be one solution, right? So go ahead and circle the one solution idea. Now, based off my graph, don't I have an uphill line and a downhill line? So that means on my system, it says y equals negative 2x plus 3. So that's the downhill line. So what's my other line going to be? Wouldn't it be the uphill line? Looking at your three choices, which one is the uphill line? Answer A. And last one, number 23. What did we say again when we see only one line? Yeah, they're infinitely many solutions. So go ahead and circle infinitely many solutions. Now, if we see only one line because they're the exact same line, look at your system. What would the missing line be for that question mark there? Doesn't have to be the exact same one. So isn't that answer C? Beautiful. All right, just briefly talking about it. Number 24, find the slope for A and B. So remember, you can just do rise over run. You can do your accounting, describing it. You got the x-axis labeled as number of posters, y-axis labeled as cost. You could say like 5 posters cost, or the cost for 5 posters is, things like that. All right, and how do we do number 25? Because some of you got this wrong on your test. For answer A, what's the slope? But remember, when we're trying to figure out if it's the greatest or the fastest rate of change, we want the decimal. So go ahead and put next to that problem 3.0. What about B? The slope is 4/3. Isn't that 1.3 repeating? C, my slope is 9/4. 2 1/4, which is 2.25. D, my slope is -5. But remember, we don't have to really worry about the negative sign when we're trying to make this decision, so we're just going to write 5.0. And E, the slope is 2/5, which is 0.40 or 0.4. So if the question says which slope is changing the fastest, you're obviously going to select the biggest decimal number, which is answer D, circle that. But what if the question said the slowest rate of change? That'd be E, because that's the smallest number. But you got to get it in decimal form. It's the easiest way to understand it. We okay so far? All right, I got enough for last one. Let's go ahead and look at number 19. So I think you should be able to do number 18 after we discuss 19 a little bit more. Now remember, the way that I asked you to do it was to look at the graph and label, identify your x-intercept. So actually put a dot here on the x-axis. What numbers am I going to write? 300, 0. We okay there? Do the same thing on your y-axis for your y-intercept. Well, we know it's going to be 0 something. So looking at your graph, where does that touch? 20, so 0, 20. So now that I have my 2 intercepts, I'm going to do a little bit of mental math and try and figure out which one satisfies my solutions. Now remember, my suggestion is to start at the 300. So look at answer A. With your pencil, cover up the Y, please. Because some of you, I noticed, were like struggling a little bit. So on my graph right there, X is 300. So if you put 300 for answer A at the X location, does that make it a true statement? Yes. It says 300 equals 300. So don't cross it off. That might be the answer. Look at B. If I put X for 300 and I do a little bit of multiplication, will that give me my answer of 300? No, cross off B. C, cover up the Y part. Let's do the same thing. If I put 300 for my X, will that give me the answer of 300? Yes, so don't cross it off. What about D? No. So our choices are A and C. Where or which answer, if I put the Y is 20, will give me a correct statement of 300? Look at A. Do you see how there's a negative sign? And if I multiply a negative by a positive, doesn't that give me a negative? So it's not answer A, it's answer C. So a little bit of mental math after you have identified your intercepts. So you've got great information here to continue on. You're going to be awesome in preparation for your quiz tomorrow.